experimenting with containers, Frigate and Coral. So this is mainly around my system of cameras that I've got. I had a neighbor get burgled a while ago, so I got quite interested in cameras. And so over the past few years, I've been going with the approach of installing apps. You guys all know it's Studio App Install, and I've just got some examples of some of the things that all of us do all the time around installing different packages. And then for my different processes, I wrap them up in a service. So those are, you guys, I'm sure, are familiar with this, where you've got the start service, you check, is it active, you stop it, enable it. That means that it's then starts automatically when you reboot your machine. So for things like my DHT sensors, it means that when you boot it up, all of that software starts up. So that's how I've done it historically. On the actual cameras, I've been using Motion. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's a package that you can download. I think it's on Git, and it runs as a service. But what it does is it checks between two images, and it does that 30 times a second, whatever it is. And when you set the number of pixels that can be different between two images, and then it regards that as something moving, and then does a recording, and you can kind of, as a buffer, and you can get it to start recording 5 seconds before it, and then when there's no more movement, it stops recording. But the thing that I found is the problems that I had only make streams available externally via HTTP. So a lot of these, a lot of the software for doing analysis around video streams is RTSP, which is what I'm moving to now. The other thing is it picks up a lot of false positives. So what I found, for instance, in summer, if you've got clumpy clouds and some wind, I'll find that about more than 99% of my of what gets captured is either clouds, and it gets dark and light when clouds go past, or wind in the tree and some leaves moving. So it doesn't actually capture any people. So you get a lot of recordings that you're just not interested in. And the same thing for birds and cats, etc. So having a look around, I was seeing what other people were doing to be more clever around how it actually captures movement, because all I'm really interested in at the moment is people moving. So I looked at this Google Coral, and I was looking at consuming the video stream via RTSP. So I've actually got an RTSP camera at the front and the back of the house, and then boost detection performance by using the Google Coral. So I've got the link there to the Google Coral, but just in summary there, it's a USB 3, so it goes into your Raspberry Pi 4, and it performs 4 trillion operations per second. It is incredibly fast. So if you look at CPU and then GPU, the TPUs is then another level up from that. But of course, it's very much geared towards machine learning. So it's a very specific thing that it does. But again, I'd recommend, if you are interested in this, go and have a look at the Google Coral website. It gives you some examples of what people are doing with that. Of course, there's a lot of machine learning that you can do cloud-based, etc., on AWS and various other places. But this means the Google Coral here means you're doing all of your processing locally, not up in the cloud. So you spend it's about £60 for this, and then you're all local to your own. You're not sending your data out through the internet and paying somebody else as well. So the software that I used is called Frigate. So what that does, uses OpenCV and TensorFlow to perform real-time object detection locally for IP cameras. And one of the recommended implementations is to run it via Docker. So you can run it directly via Docker, or you can run it via Docker Compose. So I've got it via Docker Compose. Docker Compose is effectively just a way you kind of wrap up how you started up with its variables, etc. And then Portainer can be used to monitor the Docker containers. So just having a look at Portainer, if you're getting into containers, it's a very good way of monitoring the containers. Let me just put it over to my other screen here. Hopefully I don't lose this all. Yeah. So if I look at Portainer, for instance, this is one of my Raspberry Pi 4, and it shows the images which have been pulled down, and then the containers that's the actual running instances. So the advantage of the container is you don't have to worry about installing specific bits of software like you'd normally do. And like I've got here with with the apt installs, it's the container effectively it uses the common kernel, but then it has the actual container contains all the libraries that you need. So you create it when you create it as I've got it as a Docker Compose, and then it pulls in everything that it needs to be able to run the software. And just very quickly, this is what I've got. This is 2 days ago and today. Just an example. So over here, this is earlier today. You can see up at the top, this is about 50 meters away. It's picked up a person and correctly identified them, 69% person. So you can see it's picked that up from pretty far away. This is somebody delivering something next door. That's me at the barbecue on Saturday night. Little bit of a lower percentage because it's got some shadows, etc. there. And that was an Amazon delivery on the weekend, I think it was. And that's a higher percentage, 82%, but of course it's got somebody pretty close up to the camera. So as I was saying just on the movement, on the motion thing, when there's a sunny day with wind, about 99% of what I capture is throwaway. Only 1% is actually useful. So with using Frigate and the Google Coral, about 99% of what I capture is usable, is actually people. So you can see their person. There's about there are hundreds of different things you can identify. So you can get it to look for dogs, cats, whatever. At the moment, I've just got it looking for people. Here's some examples of where it didn't get it right. So again, this is less than 1%. So I still consider this a good success rate. So there's also from Saturday, there's a bag of charcoal briquettes. I think it's 73% a person for some reason. Hanging basket, 53. A fox going past 54. I mean, these two percentages are very low. I've left that low just for purposes of this meeting, but I'll probably up it to about 70, but it would have still got the bag of charcoal. But that's me walking. I think I just put it down. So it seems to track it and then work out where it's got the highest percentage, but clearly that was not a very good example. And here I've got a tree with some lights on it. So it's also picked that up as a person. But again, just to stress, this is less than 1%. So it's still, for the vast majority of what it captures, it is correct. So just next step, I'm looking to change all my Pis to provide RTSP streams. So I've looked at various options of that. I'm having a few challenges around doing that, as some of you will know. In Bullseye, the way that the cameras work is slightly different. There's some backward compatibility, but I'm trying to get it to work with the new drivers, new camera drivers, and produce an RTSP stream. So that's it's a little bit more complicated. I do want to run it as a Docker instance. So I've had some success with that, but I've still got a way to go. The other thing I want to do is move from Docker Swarm to Kubernetes. So for some of you that may know what Kubernetes does, it's orchestration. So what I do want to do is I've got a Kubernetes cluster. I've just had another Raspberry Pi 4 8 gig delivered today. So I've got a cluster of an 8 gig, a 2 gig. I've got a Raspberry Pi Zero and Shokora and Orange Pi. And all of those are in a cluster together. So the idea is that the main cluster can then farm out work to the other Pis for doing the object detection. Of course, the other Pis won't have the Google Coral, but it can still be done without a Google Coral, but of course your frame rate's a lot lower. And the other thing I want to look at is other detection software. So if you look at what different people are doing around this kind of thing, people are actually getting it to identify specific people, doing door locks that open based on you kind of do known faces that it'll then recognize and then unlock the front door. Not going to go down that route quite, but it's people are getting quite going being quite clever around the actual detection. And I'll also be looking just again for other uses for the Google Coral. It's incredibly powerful. And there are some examples on the Google Coral website, mostly around image detection. But I want to see if there's some other work I can do around that. And then then I also want to move more other parts of the environment to Kubernetes. So again, just wherever I've got spare CPUs on, I think I've got 20 Pis at home now. So wherever there's any spare capacity, it will then spin up an instance of Frigate in this case, and then do the object detection on that. So again, running Home Assistant, MQTT. I've got MQTT and Maria running in Docker quite happily, but there's obviously images for that for Kubernetes as well. So that was just a quick, again, this was just going to be a quick overview where I've got to. I think it's been quite a good success. Again, although every now and again it gets it completely wrong, that's a very, very small minority, very small percentage of the time. The vast majority of the time it is captures it correctly, which is it's definitely an improvement on the previous or what was done previously in motion. Any questions?
A few questions in the chat.
How do I see that? Oh, here we go.
From Mark Womack at 853, asking whether can you train to look at anything if I use it for a Magellan robot, could I train it to find orange cones?
Well, this Frigate specifically has a set of predefined things you can get it to look at. But there are other people that use it that kind of train it up to look for certain things, but I'm not sure whether Frigate would be the right software. But the actual Google Coral is the hardware, is the hardware that gives you the horsepower that enables those kind of things. Bag of charcoal for a child, possibly, but it does look very, very different. I was a little bit dismayed, especially given it was a 73%. If it was a 50, I would say that's okay because it's a low enough percentage. I'm soon going to be filtering that out, but yeah, that was a little bit on the high side. Any other questions?
There's a question there, 1%. What is captures not people? Do you know how many times didn't capture anything, but a person was in camera view? So
well, the actual, so
false negative, I guess, is I guess that
so this is actually Frigate. So this is the Frigate front end, for instance. So this is my girlfriend coming back tonight. But you can go into the events and then look at. So you see here the
PowerPoint. You're still showing your PowerPoint.
Screen. I've got screen sharing. Strange.
It's been on your presentation the whole time. I don't know if you're trying to show something else.
Can you not actually see my other web browser?
No.
You share. Oh, let's
see the presentation.
Let's go. Oh, can you see my web page now?
Not yet.
Yeah, looks like it.
You can see a person arriving at my front door there, can you?
Yeah.
Right. So if I scroll down here, for instance, I mean the vast majority. There's one look. That caught person, so it's caught them in that gap between the pole and the house. But you can see the vast majority are people. But occasionally, and look, there's a young child as well, and it's picked up the child. And I've got it to catch. Can you guys actually see this? It's actually catching a clip as well. So you can kind of see as the person's walking around, and yeah, so the ladies, you see the child's running, but its best snapshot was at that point when I guess her carrying a child probably probably gives it a lower percentage, but the child walking in front gives a 73, and that's what it's taken as a snapshot as a person. But the vast majority of these, it correctly captures a person. I mean, these are all correctly captured. I'm just looking at the little thumbnails on the left. Yeah, I mean, those are all. Yep, there's my Raspberry Pi arriving today. Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty. These are all, again, 99% are correct. Just occasionally, and I find actually the highest chance of there being a problem is often at night with the tree. That's a person. So it's pretty good. Even this one over here, where person's very small in the distance, it still picks him up as a person. So yeah, it's pretty good. It's vastly better than using motion.
Okay, can you define areas of interest as well, so you can like say don't detect anything that far away, and just sort of.
So what do you mean?
Well, on my Ring doorbell, you can say, well, this is the area I want you to monitor.
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can set filter. You can set masks in the actual config. I haven't done that yet, but
Okay.
but yeah, it's that's something you can set in the config. The config's quite long, I have to say.
And Bruce was asking about.
Can you actually?
Why if you're running 20 RP Raspberry Pis, why not just put it on a PC?
Well, a lot of the Raspberry Pis are connected to a camera, and the Pi, there's a Pi with a temperature and humidity attached to each one. So I kind of almost need it kind of located in different places. So one in the loft.
Right. So 20 RPI Raspberry Pis that are doing stuff, and you happen to be loading them up with Kubernetes.
Well, at the moment I've got 3 or 4 that I'm trying to change some of the Pi zeros to Picos as well. So I'll be probably flogging some of the Pis off as soon as I can get all of this working. But
there's a little bit of the chat complaining that you bought all the Pis.
It's over many years.
Quite fair.
Yeah, but I do the cluster thing that I've got is quite you kind of need to. It's quite nice to have a mix and matched environment to try spin up these instances, and cluster, you kind of need 4 or 5 of them to properly spin up different instances. It's open. Somebody's asking about OpenCV. So the Frigate supposedly does use OpenCV, but I haven't. I'm definitely not an expert in that. Not yet, anyway. Yeah, I think. Can you see my Sublime? Yeah, or is it?
Yeah.
You can. So this is the config here. So you can see these are the cameras, and then I've got record and snapshots enabled. So that's how you can see the stills and the motion. And then the
Brian, could you make that full screen so we can read it?
How do you zoom this up? How do you zoom it? I don't actually know how to zoom it. But it's the one good thing with this is that you can produce it consumes RTSP feed, but you can also it publishes out a stream as well. So I can, for instance, consume it back into over here. So I've got in Home Assistant, I can consume an RTSP feed, but I can also consume an RTMP feed, so it can then outline a person when they're moving. So it means that it's a clever. It's you can see when somebody's moving, it'll outline them. There's various configurations you can put in, but of course there's no movement at the moment. Any other questions?
I think it was Ring or somebody like that was advertising their software starting to pick up packages. So you can tell someone's just delivering a package. I just wonder how
Okay.
useful it was, whether you refer to that or.
No. But yeah, it's very good at identifying people. But it's, yeah, eventually I'd like to get it clever around kind of detecting specific people. I mean, ideally, I'm on a Facebook group where it's, you know, people post photos from their Ring cameras of dodgy people hanging about. So if you pick up dodgy person, you could get a speaker to tell them that they're dodgy and they must go away.
Yes, that's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I'm sort of in the early stages. I see a comment about asking about the coral. They are a little bit tricky to get hold of. But you just got to keep an eye out for it. Like they do come up every now and again. I think they're a little bit easier to get hold of than actual Raspberry Pi at the moment, but it's
question there at the bottom as well. Ask about capturing between color or an IR camera, or whether it works as good or.
No, I think it's. I mean, yeah, you generally find at night it's, you know, you don't have the same kind of qualities, not as good, certainly from my experience anyway.
Right. Okay. Any other questions, anyone? Cool. Thanks very much.
Right. Thanks.